Tell my pesos it's not about business. You say it's not about business. Tell my pesos that. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rico Toro Perspective. So today, we're going to talk about Dominicans versus Venezuelans. So, for those that don't know, and I'm going to go back to that little situation of today's events, but my former number one is Venezuelan. So, anyways, let's go back about 3-4 years ago. The news was breaking that, well, not breaking, but, you know, it was discovered or whatever that Venezuelans were coming in DR, primarily around Boca Chica in the capital. So, you know, I had a upcoming trip planned at that time, and, you know, me being me, you know, I'm weird statistically. You know, I just hear something and I'm like, you know what, I got to, that's something interesting. I got to check that off the box. So, you know, I wasn't really, I was only there like a week at that time. You know, it was a short trip, and, you know, I wasn't specifically looking for Venezuelans. But I said, you know what? If I get the opportunity, it might not matter what she looks like. I'm going to handle some business. So one night I'm in the club, and this light-skinned blonde comes up to me. And she asked me, would I come talk to her friend? And, you know, I thought the messenger was cute. So I said, is your friend Venezuelan? And she says, sí. So I said, okay, sure. So, you know, I go talk to the friend, and, you know, she was a little more, you know, a little bigger frame than I normally deal with. Kind of medium thick, I guess. Looked good when the clothes came off, but, you know, wasn't anything enticing, you know, that I would have normally picked out of a crowd. So I got with the friend, and everything went pretty well. And then, you know, the next night, I think, was my last night there. And I had like a 5 a.m. flight from Santo Domingo, you know, and, or I had a 7 a.m. flight. I had to get to the airport like 5 a.m. I'm really adamant about getting there early. You know, that's just how I am. So I'm like, all right, I need like, you know, my little last night session or whatever, and it's pushing like 2-3 a.m. and I'm with some friends that just came into town, and I see the Venezuelan group. Well, I decide I want the messenger, the little blonde cutie that approached me for the friend initially. So I go talk to her. I'm like, and I talk to the other one. Basically, I'm like, is it cool if I smash your friend? It's like, yeah, I did your friend, but, you know, I might be interested in you also, Ma. And, you know, I was respectful about it, you know. And she's like, you know, yeah, we could talk or whatever. So, you know, I noticed on this night, I noticed there's like 4 or 5 Venezuelan dudes hanging around them. You know, and, you know, that's cool, you know. They're people, right? They're homies, so they're hanging out. And, you know, we danced a little bit. And she asked me if I could buy her a beer. So, you know, I buy her a Presidente Pequeña. And, you know, she takes a sip, and she says, I wanted a grande. And, you know, that's sort of a signal right there that, you know, sort of, you know, had me thinking. But I realized it's also because, you know, whoever would be able to get their hands on a drink, they wanted a grande so they could share it with, you know, with their whole little clique, their homies and all. So whatever. Anyways, because that night I was on a short clock. Like I say, I had like an hour and a half, 2 hours before I had to like get ready and get to the airport at this time, and I'm pretty drunk, and I have a short tolerance at this time for like bullshit, for any runaround. So it's clear after a little bit she's not ready to bounce, or she's trying to play it cool in front of her homies, you know, like she's not in the game or whatever. It's similar to how you know Dominican mangoes do the same shit. Like if they're in a Dominican club or in like Puerto Plata or something, they try to front in front of their homies like they're not in the game, so they don't want to appear as they're working. Even though most of their people, they see right through that. They know what it is. Esto lo que hay. So, anyways, I find something else on that night. So it was just one Venezuelan then. So let's just get into some comparisons. There's good and bad on both sides. I love my Dominicanas, and I've had some pretty good experiences with my Venezolanos, and I'm probably saying that wrong, but I'm trying to work on that. Venezolano. Anyways, my Venezuelans. So for the most part, everybody knows Dominicans don't really have a good concept of time. They're often late. They're kind of willy nilly. They flip flop and change up things. Etc. But they're a lot of fun, as well. So now Venezuelans, on the other hand, they're a little more, initially they can be a little more professional, a little more straight business. They will be on time. They will tell you, I'm leaving in 5 minutes. I'm waiting on the moto. I'm approaching your front gate. Or if they're going to be late, I will be approximately 10 minutes late. They're very considerate of your time. However, they're very, they do want to know specifically what's in it for them. And, to some, they're very mechanical. From my experience, dealing with, from my experience, I could just say in large, if you only deal with one once or twice, you might not get the best experience. It might be very mechanical. Whereas if you deal with one repeatedly, it will be very consistent, and which some would say is the same thing as mechanical, but to me, if it's very consistently good, and there's room to work with that. So and one thing I will say is, when a Dominican typically says something is free or you don't owe them anything, tomorrow they'll be looking for something. There's always, they might hold that over your head, etc. However, my experience with Venezuelans, whether it's mangoes or moto conchos, there is one regular moto that I'm kind of tight with. If they tell me I don't owe them anything, they really mean it. However, when they do want money for something, they're very clear about that. So there is a certain integrity with them that, and professionalism, I guess, regardless of what avenue you're playing in. So, anyways, typically, if I have any ongoing arrangement with somebody, after the second or third time dealing with them, we never discuss money. There's a little bit of trust factor, and I know they'll treat me well, and they know that I'll treat them well. I'm firm, but I'm fair. Firme pero justo. I'm not a sucker, but I'm also very realistic to, the value of things, and I want, if I'm putting them kind of at high priority, I'm gonna keep myself at high priority with them. So I like I say, I'm very fair with people, but I'm not stupid. So let's get into number one. Formerly, number one a little bit. So we met back in July, and I dealt with her a handful of times between July and mid-August. I was here for 6 weeks last summer, and it was mostly business at first. And then I could tell kind of maybe I was getting some benefits that not everyone was. And, and then I go home to the States for like 2 months, and I decide I'm moving here basically this past October. Well, every Sunday I kind of have my theme, which is Pool Girl Sunday, which might be me and a couple friends and a couple chicas. We all get our own, or it might just be a private, intimate thing with me and one other. So, and, you have to select accordingly. Not every girl makes a good pool chica. For instance, Dominicans and Haitians don't like the sun, whereas Venezuelans, there's another difference. They like the sun, they like the beach, they like the pool. A lot of that hair is natural, and they don't mind getting it wet. Right now, side note, with the salons closed, a lot of Dominicans they're willing to get that hair wet, shake out that natural hair, and have a little extra fun in the water too, in the quarantine. So, anyways, back to number one. I decide I'm gonna make her my Sunday pool chica one Sunday, and this is the first time something different out of the box is being asked of her. And she's like, well, you're going to want me to hang out an hour or two at the pool and then us do our business. And so what are you going to give me? And I respond like I do most people I deal with regularly. I will treat you fairly for the additional. And she said, no, I really want to know. So I throw my number out there, and she's like, no, that's not good enough or whatever. And I say, well, that's what it is. And she's still pressing. So finally I'm like, well, what do you want? And I thought she responded with a ridiculous figure. So I said, I'm not going to do that. Have a nice day, enjoy the rest of your weekend. And then you go quiet. You just go quiet. You don't, she gave a long explanation or whatever. I thought about it, but I didn't respond. And, I do respect her long explanation about her time and time she could be, doing whatever, getting her money, her work, blah, blah, blah. I respect it. But I say nothing. I don't argue. I just go quiet. And then after a little bit, she's like, okay, I trust that you'll treat me fairly. I'll still come if you want to. So she comes. We have a pretty good pool day and everything. And she's here a couple hours. We're drinking on the balcony. We're playing in the pool, handle business. Boom, boom, que lo que. And then she leaves, and, I give her a little bit more than I normally would, but a decent amount less than her crazy number that she came out the mouth with. She smiled, gave me a kiss, said thank you, and left. So then shortly after that, I put her on the number one. At that time, I had a number one, a number two, and a number three. So Rico's big three, if you will. So I was seeing her like twice a week. Everybody else just once a week, because I have a day job. I need to rest every now and then. And every now and then I might want to throw something random in the mix. So anyways, I saw her pretty much like that up until early March, before quarantine, in which the last time I saw her till today, she was telling me she had some long-term arrangement with some expat or whatever, and blah blah blah. And even though it's not her thing, she really don't like being tied down too long. She feels she could do better on her own, whatever. So, basically, I wish her well. I'm not the jealous type. And so, midway through the quarantine a little bit, she tells me one day, I can start seeing you again if you want, because I can't take this stuff anymore. I'm, leaving this arrangement. Who knows whether it was her or maybe the dude even was like, you know what, you got to get to stepping. I'm tired of this crap too. So you never know. So my advice was, I straight up told her, you're kind of stupid right now to want to go. Now's not a good time to be floating around freelancing, being single and Sosua. It's really just not. There's nobody here or whatever. She said basically, I'll be fine. I have some regulars, that want to see me. And see, that right there was another thing that most Dominicans would not do. They would not say, I have some regular clients I can see during this time. Most Dominicans would just say, I'll be fine, I'll figure it out. Which to me, I like a certain amount of honesty, but I don't want to hear or think about those specific words. I have other clients that look out for me or whatever. So I said, well, that's cool. I'm not going to see you during this time. Because, I had been dealing with my own, like, once a week, Miss Quarantina, just one for the most part. Because that's how I felt like that was just safe. The safest sort of social distancing, following rules, etc. I had her on a pretty good regimen. The Miss Quarantina, she come. I send her to the shower right away after she's been in a moto or taxi. And then I shower up as well, throw her a t-shirt, so no street clothes are touching my sofa, etc. No hugs and kisses till after the shower. So, anyways, back to number one. She hits me up a couple days ago, like, hadn't seen you in a while, I really, like to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, all right, sometime this week we'll see each other. So last night she's hitting me up and I'm telling her, okay, well, you said you need to talk. Operative word, talk. So I'm like, all right, if you want to come talk, we can talk. But, that's it. Because, I don't want to see you like a client. And she goes into this long spiel about how with me, it became very personal very quickly, not about business. I do believe that to some degree. I'm sure I was getting some consistent, good GFE that a lot of guys weren't getting. A lot of guys were giving her the same or more for like 10 minutes and nothing else. Just a standard mechanical process. So, and that's part of the difference between living here and speaking enough of the language. You can accentuate or enhance your experiences. So, anyways, after that, like I say, I'm like reading that message. Oh, it's not business, it's personal. And she threw in some extra emotional stuff. I love you. What? And again, I say, tell my pesos it's not business. My pesos beg to differ. So, anyways, she comes today and we do talk like an hour or two. And, I'm checking work emails and stuff in between, while she's sitting on the couch. And she's telling me something about her son messed up his leg in an accident, medicine, just talking blah, blah. She's telling me about where she lives now, and her homegirl that I'm pretty cool with, as well. Never smashed her, but, I didn't break that code, I guess, well, actually the door was open if I wanted it, but I'm just not she's just not one I'm interested in. There is another Venezuelan friend or two on the list that I am interested in, friends of hers, but they're all back in their country now. So, anyways, after a little bit, I send her to the shower. And she's like, boy, but you just said we're just going to talk or whatever. And, I said, well, yeah, that was the plan, but esto lo que hay, I never said it was off the table. Never said, it wasn't an option. So we do the thing. And afterwards, we're dressed again. I'm starting to work. She's looking like she wants to go soon. And she says something long into Google Translator and hands me her phone. And before I even pressed play in English, I understood what I needed to know in Spanish. It was something about loaning her 5,000 pesos because she hadn't been able to work, blah, 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 her, kids back in Venezuela, etc., etc. Well, I had an amount that I was planning on giving her, usual amount, for a really good day, and quite candidly and honestly, I usually gave her anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000, and like I say, that's usually for like 2-3 hours of time and whatever, and so I'm getting some little extra, like I say, special GFE for that. So, and she probably commands on a Saturday night. She'll command 4, or at least try that 3 to 4. So, for like 10 minutes of work. So, anyways, I was planning on giving her 3, but since she tried that angle about coming by just to talk and it not being all about business and being personal, what did I do? I gave her less than what I was planning on giving her and usually gave her. I gave her 2. She smiled, gave me a kiss, said thank you, and left. So anyways, that's sort of my story.